mean, hi there. You know, there's nothing like relaxing and spending your time with your closest friends in a cup of hot cocoa.
Hey man, do you have the time?
Oh yeah. Hey. What's next? Well, hey there guys, welcome to Rock Hard Riffs. This is the guitar channel for the self-taught. That's right, we're just having a little fun there, guys. You know, sorry. Hey, we're going to talk about copyrights a little bit in today's video. You know, I've been seeing a lot of hubbub and a lot of, it seems to be maybe misunderstandings of what copyrights are and what they're for, even though it's kind of obvious. Most of us kind of have a general idea that a copyright is to protect certain material, like music, movies, and that sort of thing. So again, those things are there to protect whomever owns the rights. And if you look back in some of the history of some of the rock bands and people that have been around that did not look after themselves and did not make sure that they had the rights to their own music, well, somebody else does, and they're the one that's profiting from it. And that's the entire key of this. Back in the 90s, I had some experience with some copyrights. There was some material that I had owned. Somebody knew about it, they were involved with it, but they took it and tried to distribute whatever this was with several of my very local, very close competitors, and I caught wind of that. So I looked into exactly what the situation was, and yes, they were definitely infringing on my rights of my ownership of that material. So I called those places where this person, you know, somebody had just told me, thankfully, that what was going on. So I called the places where this was being done, and I let them know in no uncertain terms that I owned the copyright to what was being used at their facility and that they needed to cease and desist immediately. And I'll tell you what, there was nothing like talking about copyrights and ceasing and desisting to get somebody's attention. And I'll tell you what, it got their attention and it worked fantastically. I was kind of worried because, you know, sometimes enforcing some things can be a real drag if you can enforce it at all. You know, that's what's happening here on YouTube. And it's not YouTube that's enforcing or not enforcing any copyrights. It's just if there is a record of a copyright to a certain piece of material through the algorithm or however it works, those things are flagged and YouTube lets you know. Now, as far as my experience goes with YouTube, it's been no big deal. I've had several songs where I would just play, and sometimes even ones that I would teach, that are flagged because somebody that owns the copyright to that is enforcing the copyright. And they have every right to, in my opinion. They own the rights. What more do you have to, you know, possession is 9/10 of the law. And those copyrights are enforceable, and they can enforce them through YouTube. And you know what? That's perfectly understandable. Really, what the copyright issue comes down to is the simplest way to think about it is the shoe on the other foot test. Okay, what if it was your song that somebody else is using and profiting from? Now, you know, teaching a song is one thing, but performing something like on YouTube, which I've done, Nirvana songs and other stuff, just to perform it, Santana, the copyright things came up on those just to inform me that there is somebody that's tracking the copyrights and that they may or may not share the revenue from my video with me. Or not. You know, it's like, you know, they own the rights. If they want to share a little bit of the tiny, minuscule amount of profit that I might make, how do I argue with that? I'm not going to argue. Why would I argue? I don't own the rights. Again, the shoe on the other foot tells you, what if it was you? Now again, there was somebody that I saw on YouTube recently, they were talking about how they were restricted from their own song. Actually, there are a few times I've seen that on YouTube where people have been restricted from their own music. Now think about this, that's a good thing. They're being protected. Your rights are being protected even from you, until you can actually prove it's you. But if you think about that, that's a really good thing. If you own the rights, you own the rights. Then when it's time to dispute it, if necessary, then you can prove that you own it. You know, every place you go that plays some type of music that you're familiar with, they have a license to play that music, whether it's a bar or a mall or a store or YouTube itself. They have a license that allows that type of thing because of copyrights. Again, copyrights are good. They're there to protect you. If you're running a YouTube channel, my advice is you've got to expect, if you're going to use somebody else's copyrighted material, that the monetization of that will become an issue. Just recently, I had taught the song White Room, and immediately I got an email from YouTube and a notification right when I uploaded it that was copyrighted material. They were allowing me to share the monetization of that if I so wish. It's like, sure. And if I didn't get money from it, from ad revenue, that's all that is. And it's pennies, even fractions of pennies on the dollar, right? I'm fine with that because I don't own the rights. I don't necessarily have a right to broadcast it in public like this. So they're allowing me to. I have absolutely no problem with that. Just think about like when you watch the news or something like that, where they'll show a competitor's video on their own channel, and it'll say courtesy of blankety blank. Well, that is because of copyrights, and they have an agreement, as long as they acknowledge where the material came from, that they can use each other's material, especially like if it's an exclusive type of video, that type of thing, which happens day in, day out. But there's always an agreement for that. Again, guys, it's just as simple as this. It's the shoe on the other foot test. That's really the most important thing. All right, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This is Mr. Smooth from Rock Hard Riffs and hipster channels all over. Thanks for watching again, guys. We really appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next video.